Us Americans like to think we're the best in everything.
That's because we are.
Let's talk education, where it shows that we're not. Talk about public school funding, the role of the federal government. Do you support No Child Left Behind? If not, how would you alter it, Mr. Hudson?
Well, No Child Left Behind is the worst education policy we've ever had, except for all the others. Having the federal government determine curriculum and make education decisions doesn't work. The one-size-fits-all is a failure, and all you have to do is look at the statistics you mentioned, Sean. It doesn't paint a pretty picture. But if you look at places where we are succeeding in education, where people are allowed to try new things and to have the flexibility to teach to the needs of specific children, we're having a lot of success. And so what I'd like to do is decentralize this model. Let's get the federal government out of the business. And in fact, the state government shouldn't be as involved as it is. I think decisions in education ought to be made at the local level with parents, teachers, administrators, because they know the best way to educate their children. If we're talking about educating the children in Troy, North Carolina, I believe the people in Montgomery County know much better how to do that than some bureaucrat in Washington or some bureaucrat in Raleigh. I was talking about charter schools the other day, which is something I support. And I was talking to a teacher. My mother, by the way, is a public school teacher who just retired in Cabarrus County. And I was saying that I support charter schools. And she said, well, it's not fair because charter schools don't have all the strings my school has. And I said, that's exactly my point. I want to make every school in America a charter school. Give each school the flexibility to teach to those children's needs. And that's how you'll see change. The one-size-fits-all is never going to get us the results we want.
Mr. Keadle, public education.
Well, Richard and I have in common that we both have a mother, and both of our mothers were public school teachers. And so I have quite a bit of experience with education as well, my mother bringing it home every day. And I also have two daughters that are one is going to public school. And I'll give you an example. My wife and I, we tried to get our daughter into a charter school, which is a school that allows competition, allows some flexibility. And the line for the charter school, the lottery was about $750 for each of the two charter schools that we tried to get our daughter into. And there were 20 slots for each of these schools. Now, what does that tell you about charter schools? That tells you that there's a line out the door of customers who want something different than what they're getting from the educational system. And in spite of that, by the way, I disagree with the notion that America isn't getting education right. I think we're not getting it right, and I think it needs to be improved, but the notion that we're inferior to the rest of the world, that's a liberal notion that's used for the purpose of trying to get more federal involvement in education, which is the last thing we need. We're 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's GDP, so we're doing something right. We are Americans, we are better, and we know what we're doing, but there is no constitutional rule, no constitutional authority for the federal government to be involved in education in any which way at all. So the federal government needs to return those dollars to the states, and the states need to wake up, figure out that the customers want the charter schools, that the customers want local choices, the customers want competition. And frankly, then the students, the parents, and the teachers won't have to deal with a monopoly that is the public school system. And it will eventually be a disaster. And we will lose our place in the world if we don't do something. And it starts with getting the federal government out of education where it does not belong and has no authority.
Well, real quick, yes or no answer I would like here. Do you support a voucher system?
I do not support a voucher system because that is federal involvement in education.
Okay. Do you support a voucher system?
Well, I support having more choice for parents. I support homeschool. I support a lot of the options. So, I don't know how you define voucher. It's a word that carries a lot of weight and a lot of extra junk comes along with it. So it depends on how you define it. But I do support parents being able to make choices and take their children out of the public school system.
Okay.